unfortunately, I could not follow up last night's video of Alora horseback riding because my phone died. But she had a great afternoon. It was the first time she's had horseback riding with the daylight savings time, so there was plenty of sunlight. It was warm. It was a good day for horseback riding, and she, as always, had a good time. But I guess I will just follow up day 2 with you guys in the greenhouse, because I have a couple updates. While I was at horseback riding with Alora last night, Buddy did something crazy to our garden in the back, and I'll show you that in a second. But right now, let me show you what's going on in here. All right, we have stuff popping up. Good. We've got the peppers that are appearing, which are pretty on par. They're normally the last ones to sprout, and those are coming up. This last row, the orange bell peppers, none of those have sprouted yet. So sometimes when I see an entire row not doing anything, like this Cali Wonder row here, it might be a sign that the seeds just are past their prime, or maybe they're late bloomers, who knows. This whole tray right here of cayenne pepper, it's not looking like anything's happening here, so who knows. This might look like not much, but they're tiny. So we've got some thyme popping up here. It looks like only one rosemary so far, so have to keep an eye on that. All of my broccoli and cabbage is looking good. So I've got broccoli and cabbage coming up. I normally don't plant these. I've never planted them in a summer garden or a spring garden. I normally only do them in the fall, but I've missed my opportunity last fall and I really wanted to try. So maybe we can get a few pieces of broccoli and maybe a little cabbage or something. They really like colder weather. They don't do what they bolt. They bolt quickly in hot weather. So depending on how our spring and summer is going to go, I might be able to get some. I just figured I'd try. Over here we've got tomatoes sprouting. So those are looking good. Looks like every single tray has, or every single pod has sprouted something. Even the ones that look like there's not, they are coming up. The only cell I don't see any activity in is this little one down here, but oh, there goes my door. Everything is looking good. So my marigolds though, I don't know, I've only had this one pot sprout marigolds, and I even sprinkled some extra seeds on top just to see what was going on, but I don't have any other marigolds coming up except for these. There's 2 in here. All right, and then we've got our cucumbers that are doing amazing. Our tomatillos are doing good. These are getting a little leggy, but I'm not too concerned with tomatillos because they are in the nightshade family, and they've got that fuzzy little stem, which means I can plant them all the way up to here, and all of these little fuzzy little hairs will put off roots. So I could plant it up to its neck, and everything down here will just send off roots. So I'm not too concerned with how leggy these are becoming with tomatoes anyway, or the tomato variety, because that I can manage. Over here we've got more tomatoes, and if you're not familiar with why I do this, why I run my hand over it, it is to help them not be leggy. It is so that it mimics the natural wind in nature, because we're in a controlled environment in here. They don't get exposure to that harsh wind, and they really need that stimulation in order to build a stronger stem and help with transplant shock. And it also helps build a strong root system, because when they are forced to go under stress like this in nature, it creates a thicker, stronger stem for them to hold on tight to the ground. Now, if they were just to be left alone with no air, no wind, they'd be super leggy, super tall, super skinny, and they would snap easy because they don't have to build that thicker stem. And then up here we've got our blue lake green beans and our cantaloupe and melons. These Kajari melons are really tall. So if you could tell the difference, like, I would think that they're leggy, but it might just be their variety. I'm not sure. They're pretty tall. We've got pumpkins going on and some squash. Our butternut squash, oh, I thought that I wasn't gonna get any. It looks like they were just late sprouters. Butternut squash is back there. Now, this I'm really excited about. The white scallop squash, I didn't think I was gonna get any, but 2 decided to pop up, and I really thought this whole tray was gonna be a bust. But I've got 2 showing signs of life, so that's really good news. I'm really excited to try these squash because I've never tried them before. White scallop. Back there I've got zucchini. Got more zucchini. Just gonna give it a quick shake since I can't really reach over there. Give this one a little bit of a shake. These are the Rise and Shine squash that Kim got me. It looks like all but one germinated, which is fine because some of them ended up getting 2 in the pot. So these are the squash that are supposed to grow vertically, and I've never grown these before, so she got us some seeds to try. So we're gonna try these. And they are pretty close to needing to be transplanted. A lot of this is. And I have started to transplant some things. For example, I think I talked about it, and if I didn't, I will tell you now. I did plant some melons because we're gonna do this to be over here somewhat of a melon patch. I did some melons on the outside of these beds. I have not planted anything but sunflowers and these as of yet. And then this is the asparagus bed over here. I did plant some lima beans over here in our grape dome because we only have 1 grapevine on this side. We've got 2 over there. So I won't plant much over there. Last year I did some carrots and some basil in these beds. But this year, since I don't have another grapevine on this side, I just figured I'd put my lima beans over here since they are a pole variety and not a bush variety. There is a bush variety lima bean, but this is pole, so it's gonna need a trellis eventually. So I'm just gonna put it over here and see what happens. This is my first time to grow lima beans. Last year I just stuck them in the ground and nothing happened. So this year I started them in pots and then transplanted them. Lima beans don't typically like their roots disturbed, so I had to be very careful transplanting them. And normally that's why you direct sow certain varieties, is because they don't like their roots messed with. And but they ended up looking like they were gonna make it. So I just carefully transplanted those, and we'll see how those grow. But yeah, the melons are looking good. And if you look here, I've got forks in the ground in some of these places and some wire, because I put this here until the plants mature and can hold their own, because pests and critters and cats and chickens and guineas, things crawl all through, even dogs. They will walk all through here if they're just left wide open. So I have put, you can even see over here, something attempted to step in here, but quickly found their way out because they're uncomfortable walking on wire. And I don't want this to become a big giant litter box where my food is. So I have made do with those, and I found that actually really helps to cover that up. All right, enough of that. Let's go look at what Buddy did. I thought for sure I was going to need the tractor to scrape the ground in here to get these rows uncovered, because when I tell you they are one with nature, literally one with nature. He yesterday hand pulled all of the black tarps that were covering these rows. He didn't get to the walkway, which if you see, this is covering the walkway, which is still crazy to me that we've had so much grass and overgrowth. It just goes to show you that like weed barrier is a joke when it comes to grass. But the rows themselves pretty much are in decent shape. However, down here towards the end, for whatever reason, we had a lot of grass infiltration. See, if you look down here, everything is okay. You can tell like where where we planted things, but down at the end, we just had a whole bunch of grass underneath. It's windy, guys. Sorry if it's gonna be on the phone like that. But look at all the stuff he balled up. He said yesterday he was just pulling and cutting and pulling and cutting and pulling and cutting. And if you're wondering why, it was just like we had, I don't know how many seasons with that tarp, two full years with it, and it was beyond fixing, as far as like we had to mow over it and it ripped in a lot of places, and it was just obviously failing to do its job in a lot of areas. And ultimately what I would really like to do before I plant more is to till this whole thing up again. I want to just get in here and turn the ground and put back some nutrients in it with some organic material and then replant. But before we do that, we really have to figure out this layer of sod that has developed on top of all this mulch. So yeah, I don't know how I honestly don't know how he did it by hand. My back would have literally died after the first row, but he did it. And now we're just that much closer to planting. So I told Buddy I am kind of tempted to just till up these rows and leave the walkways as they are and figure something else out with that. I don't know yet. I don't know, because I just don't know. I'm just not sure. But we're going to do something. And we're that much closer. And we're going to have to figure that out pretty quickly, because as you could see in my greenhouse, things are looking like they need to be put in the ground pretty quickly. Hopefully by maybe this weekend. I don't know. We'll see. Do you guys want an update on the baby chicks? Let's go look at them. So the baby chicks live in my bathroom in the barn. Hey, little babies. Hi. This little space heater's worked out really well, except they get on here, they climb on the top, and then they use the restroom, so I gotta clean it off. But it's actually worked out really well, and it's warm but not hot. And I've kind of got it at an angle, so it's higher on that end and lower on that end, so they can kind of get super warm if they want, where it's touching their backs. Or they can go down here. It's a little bit more walking room. What do you think, huh? What do you think? And then they can get their food and their water that they like to trample all through. Hi, little one. And then, so I believe I have 29 in here, I think. And then we've got in the incubator. Nine more that have not hatched, but one has pipped right there. So, and eggs, you know, typically they take 21 days to hatch. I don't see any other eggs that have pipped. But, I look a little crazy, sorry. Typically 21 days to hatch. However, depending on what time you put them in, how long they've been sitting on the counter, maybe some got a little bit of a head start with development. And so I always let the eggs that didn't hatch right on day 21 sit for at least 3 days. Because I've candled eggs right before I thought that they were just not viable, and I've seen or heard a little chirp. So sometimes they just take a little bit of extra time for whatever reason. So I'm going to leave these for an extra 2 days plus today, so 3, and see what all we get out of it. I did have one egg that started to pip yesterday and partially unzip, and then it went about an hour with no movement, and I checked on it and it had unfortunately passed away in the egg. Sometimes that happens. It's just kind of like, it's just nature. You know, if the chick isn't strong enough to break out of the shell, it probably wouldn't have been strong enough to survive outside of the shell either. It might have been some sort of defect within the chick. But, you know, I did break it open just to look to see if there was anything wrong with it, and it just seemed like nothing looked off with it. But it just didn't make it out of the shell. So I did have one pass, and then as we were incubating eggs, when we were candling them, I'd had 3 eggs that didn't develop at all. So that was 4 that, of all the eggs that I set, that so far were non-viable. And I believe this incubator holds 43. I can't ever remember. It's like 43 or 46. So if all goes to plan, if all 9 of these hatch, I should have 38, 39 chicks, I think. So we shall see, but I don't know that all 9 of these are going to hatch. Having 100% success rate on incubating eggs is pretty rare, but we'll see. We'll see what happens and see. And just so you know, I had a lot of questions during our live when we hatched these chicks. I'm not hatching them for anyone around the hill. I did offer chicks to Kim or whoever. Nobody really wanted or needed chicks right now, so I was just hatching them for myself. But I did get eggs from Megan and Bree and Kim and myself. So I just combined eggs from around the hill, and I just did a whole backyard mix. So whatever hatched. And yeah, so I'll have plenty of chicks, and then I can give some away if someone wants some around the hill, or locally if someone needs to buy some chicks, we can give a few away. I'm not sure. But I just wanted to hatch some for myself to replenish our stock and, yeah, keep the egg production rolling here. But thanks for hanging out with me this morning and giving you a quick update on all of the things. Later on today, I've got to go to Caden's track meet. So right now, I'm going to get my chores done. I'm going to get my Etsy orders filled, run to the post office, take care of everything around here, and we will catch you on the next one, guys. Bye.
On the Denman Homestead, where the sun sets golden in the west, we live in harmony with nature, doing what we love best. From the garden to the kitchen, and the bees inside their hive. On the Denman Homestead, come along and plant, nourish, thrive.